Hey everybody, welcome to the show. And today I get to spend time with Jen Becker, who is an identity coach with Identity Exchange, um, and uh, and has some powerful. I've gotten to see some things about her identity already and her calling, and I can't wait to share that with you. So, Jen, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Johnny. I'm glad to be here. Excited for this.
So I'm wondering, first thing is, what are you passionate about?
Oh man, I am most passionate about transformation. It's been like that since I was a little kid. I love things like even something as simple as like cleaning out my purse. Like there's just something about something chaotic meets some kind of order, and the result that comes out of it is transformation. And so I found myself always. I was a hairstylist for a long time for that reason. I
Yeah.
couldn't name it then, but and then I moved into ministry, same reason, and now I'm doing what I'm doing now because it's really the heart behind it all. Is just I just want to see the world and people transformed.
It's beautiful. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that came out as a kid?
Man, well, I was raised in a home as a firstborn. I have one little sister. There was a lot of, I was really, really loved as a kid, but my parents dealt with a lot of addiction and chaos and just wildness. And so as a young kid, I realized that I had the ability to affect a space by bringing peace. And so yeah, I think from there, I because I was in a lot of chaos all the time,
Yeah.
part of the way that I learned to cope with the chaos was to try to bring some semblance of peace and order to things. And so I think as a little kid, and even I remember I was thinking about this the other day, as a third grader, I got invited to be a peer mediator, where they like pulled some third graders together. They
For
trained
real?
us on how to on how to navigate third grade conflicts, and so when kids would like fight on the recess at recess, they would like pull a couple the fighting kids and a couple of peer mediators, and they would have us like sit them all down and like hear all the sides of the story and kind of come to some kind of. And so I've just always had a natural bent towards seeing things be better and more peaceful.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
is that? So it sounds like you're a person who then gravitates towards the chaos
Yeah, very
where it
much
comes
so.
to you. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Um, what does it feel like? I'm interested because I have similar thoughts, some
Yeah, yeah.
similar thoughts and ways of being. What does chaos feel like to you when you come around it?
It used to. So full transparency, I'm in my own 12-step recovery program. That's called Adult Children of Alcoholics. It's
Yeah.
ACA is a 12-step program, and it really is all around recovering from the chaos of a childhood like I had. And so really just learning to be more in touch with my emotion. It really is the goal of the program is emotional sobriety is the word
Mm.
that the program uses. And so for me, chaos used to feel like almost magnetic. Like, oh, there it
Mhm.
is. I must run towards it.
Mhm.
Because, and we'll probably get further into this, because I had this false identity of like, I'm responsible.
Yeah.
Like nobody's gonna fix it unless I fix it kind of thing.
Oh
And so
man.
it used to feel magnetic. Now I like a sense of compassion kind of stirs up in me like, man, and luckily it's led me to a place of being able to start to ask the question like, God, what is that? Do you want me to move toward that? Because
Yeah.
I have something to offer that for sure, and I know that because of the way that he's created me, but do you want me to move toward that, or is that someone else's today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. That is actually a really important distinction. I'm trying to think for myself if I understand that distinction that you just made,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is chaos, okay, I must go,
Hmm.
versus chaos, okay, Lord, do you want me to go?
Yeah.
That's very different. That's very
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. Well, because the very thing that I'm wired for, and sounds like you're similar, the very thing that I'm wired for, I mean, one of my identities is Princess of Peace.
Yeah.
Like, like God's made me have this unique ability to walk into a space with the authority of my Heavenly Father to offer peace to the room.
Yeah.
And so it's like but to realize that like my true identity as one of my identities being Princess of Peace, that's always going to be under attack.
Yeah.
So it's like if I haven't received enough to offer out to this chaotic situation today, then I'm actually damaging and like hurting myself. And for years, I kind of thought that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm
Yeah.
supposed to put myself on the line for the sake of others. And while I still think that's sometimes true, it's not without submission to him first. Like he gets to be
Yeah.
the boss of where I go and what I do, you know? And so it's been a very healthy, and I'm still in that process of
Yeah.
becoming healthier in that way, but it's been like a wake up process of like, dang, it's not all for me to solve, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you just said is so deep, and I I have deep conversations basically every day.
Yeah.
Almost every conversation I have is a deep conversation,
I love it.
and and so often I'm starting to run into this, right? Like, because I use kind of the superpower quest language, but I also like to use the identity exchange language, right? But whether whatever language set I'm using, I do run into people that have this superpower,
Yeah.
and but then they start to question. They look back at their past and they say, well, my past formed me, and I actually had to exercise this superpower in my past, and or because of the trauma that was happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so does that mean it's not really my superpower? Right? Because if it came out of trauma, then is it really some innate special gifting that I have, or is it just my mind's defense mechanism against my environment? And it seems to me that most of the time it actually is the gem or the core of it is something good,
Yeah.
but the way it gets distorted is you have to act this way all the time.
Yes.
Maybe there's even a little more there, but yeah, I like even your story. I hear what you're saying, right? Like,
Yep.
I think maybe that's the key. Like the have to kind of fear-based drive
Yep.
to fix things, versus the freedom to let God fix things through you.
That's right. And it really is like Jamie and Donna talk a lot about the idea that our being is what informs our doing. And so for me, a lot of the undoing has been realizing that when I'm connected to the source, I'm thinking of John 10, like I'm connected to the source, I'm connected to the vine, then my mere being, just being in a room, offers peace. Like I don't have to show up and be peace or do peace or force peace or any of that. It's just my mere nature is doing it. I don't have to. And so I think that's been a big difference in sort of tapping on what you're saying too, of like the realization that it's so much less about what I'm doing and so much more about being in the fullness of who I am. And something that happened a few weeks ago that I've been thinking about a lot is I was just having some quiet time with the Lord, and it was almost like the Lord and I are sitting together, and I had this picture of all of these past versions of myself kind of in the room with me. Like my 2-year-old self, my 4-year-old, 12 was a significant year for me, 17, 19. I was a mom when I was 19, 22, and I'm just thinking, and all these versions of myself are in the room. And I felt the Lord kind of like, Jen, like, what do you call them? And so I started going, well, she was scared. And she was protected. She was very protective. She was hyper vigilant.
Yeah.
And I started labeling all of them. And so he was like, actually, like here, and it was so cool because the more I've thought about it, it's like to take every thought captive is to take my 12-year-old self into right now, because for a long time, the action that I would do, say, and this might sound weird, but this is just my kind of recovery coming out, like my 17-year-old self would show up in the room in a situation. If someone disrespects me at 17, I'd been through so much chaos and had to fight for myself for so long that at 17, when someone's going to come at me, like, you better watch out because I'm here. I will fight about it. Like, that's how I was at 17, which is wild to me because I'm just not that person now. But it's like, that's who I was. And so sometimes I'll be in a situation, someone will say something disrespectful, and my 17-year-old shows up in the room and wants to fight about it. Yeah. And in the past, it's been like, okay, 17-year-old, it's this motion, go sit down.
Yeah.
The Lord lately has been like, no, it's actually this motion, come here. Like if my own 17-year-old were to walk in the room, I wouldn't tell her to get out of the room because she has a bad attitude. I would tell her to come here. Like, hey, here. Let me take you captive And
Yeah.
let me help you learn. Let me teach you to obey what God has to say about is the most true thing about you. And so that process of just realizing and reckoning like all of these past little selves have voices that are affecting our current circumstance.
Yeah.
So to just have grace, and to me, that's really that process of wholeness. That if I can learn to not just love all these past versions of myself, but actually accept them,
Yeah.
like I can actually like see 17-year-old me coming and be like, man, I'm so proud of her for learning how to survive. Like you're saying,
Yeah.
like, because
Yeah.
God, I called her like not the nicest word. Like that was my raging bee era. Like that's what I would call it. And when I was talking to the Lord about it, he's like, no, 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 that is justice that's coming out of her. Like she
Yeah.
is justice hearted, you know? She is not hyper vigilant. She is compassionate. Like
Yeah.
don't get it twisted. Like you've always been compassionate. You've always been justice hearted. And I don't want so it's a bit interesting to like learn to both love but also accept. And like we teach in identity exchange all the time, like you cannot give away what you don't have.
Yeah.
For me to learn to accept fully accept myself in all of those versions of myself and even frankly forgive myself
Yeah.
for those parts of the versions of me that I'm not super proud of. It's like then I'm actually, if I'm able to receive that acceptance and forgiveness for myself, now I actually have something to offer the person in front of me. That's true love and forgiveness and acceptance because I've actually received it for myself.
Man, that's right on. And that goes right back to your word transformation, right? Like that's the first thing you told us about yourself is that you're passionate about transformation.
Yeah,
What the world needs is me transformed,
that's right.
right? It doesn't need me to tell it everything that's wrong with it, or whatever. Like it needs me to actually be transformed because that's the only thing that's going to make a difference.
Yeah, and
Really.
transform to the original intent. That's the
Yeah.
other part, kind of what you were saying is it's like your identity is the only thing. Donna was talking about this the other night. Your identity is the only eternal thing. There's only part about you that's the part that was there before you were on the earth and it will be there after you're gone. Like it's the only eternal part of us. And so that part will last forever. And then all
Yeah.
this other stuff just gets piled on top of it. And so it's
Sure.
like to transform is really to remove what's been piled on top of the truth of who you are. And what we actually need from you and from me and from everybody is that not only would we transform to realize what that original intent and design was, but also that you would stand firm in that.
Sure.
Like to stand firm in it, if you're standing firm in your identity and so am I, sometimes my experience, especially lately, I've realized this is like sometimes when people are standing firm and so am I, it can feel like an equal but opposing force.
Yes.
Like, especially in marriage, frankly, it's
Yeah.
like, yo, this person is just in my business all the time. This equal and opposing force. But the reality of it is like, I need my husband to stand firm in the full truth of who he is. And the
Yes.
temptation for me sometimes is to try to make him come and stand like me. Or the temptation for me sometimes is to just try to stand like him so that we can have some continuity. But in reality, if he's doing that, we're very easily tipped over in a parallel position. We need to be equal and opposing force. And so when I think of like my friends and my spouse and my kids and my people that I'm coaching, it's like, I want nothing more than for you to realize who you actually are and then learn how to stand firm in that. Like
Yep.
I need you to stand firm that I would have something firm to push against in me standing firm. And so I just feel like I'm always just cheering and championing for people like one, let's figure out who you are, and then two, like stand firm, like be fully like I tell people all the time, like whole ass, like not half, like whole ass, like who you are, like stand firm in that thing. That's who you are.
That's beautiful, man. It's the Lord is amazing, man. Because I literally got this image yesterday. I was having some quiet time, and it was the idea that everybody's in orbit around something, right? We're in orbit around something has a gravity, right? And when I'm in orbit around the Lord, when I'm in orbit around the truth, I have a certain kind of a life, right?
Yeah.
Like what comes out of me is peace. What comes out of me is joy. But then that orbit gets challenged because another planet comes near me, right? The other person, right? You're talking about other people. The other planet comes near me, and it has its own gravity. And what I find is at points, I might jump from this over to this
Yeah.
and begin to orbit this other thing that's kind of pulled me away. And all of a sudden, I am reflecting its attributes,
Wow. Yeah.
right?
Powerful.
And so what's needed is to stay in orbit even against the pull, because we will always feel the pull. And a lot of times it's a person,
Hmm.
it's a circumstance, it's a fear, it's something that's coming and has its gravity.
Yeah.
And the thing that we must learn, right? Like that is standing in your true identity, right? Standing in your right proximity and right relationship,
Yep.
because that's where the truth is.
Yep.
But I'm with you, man, 100%. Like and I think some people naturally have an easier time doing that than others.
Hmm.
Like I would say, people pleasing is a thing for me, and there's a strength. The strength is, man, I care a
Yep.
lot,
Yep.
and I'll do a lot because I care. But the
Yeah.
downside is, man, you know, I can let somebody else's state completely throw me off my orbit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, man? Am I speaking?
100%. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
been a massive part of my story. Yeah, one that I still have to work through every day,
Yeah. Oh
Similar to
yeah.
chaos. Yeah, it's like, dang, why am I getting sucked into this again? When I was like, yeah, totally. I can relate to that.
Right. 17-year-old you comes out, 13-year-old me comes
Yep.
out,
Yep.
you know, ready to do whatever, man. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Man,
And
this
the
guy.
people pleasing thing is really real. For me, I had a big waking up about this when early on when I started working at the treatment center, and the needs are great. Like people come in and they are in really, really rough shape. Like, coming straight off the streets in a 20-year, meth addiction or heroin or fentanyl addiction, and, just the most traumatized individuals you can possibly imagine. And I have such a heart of compassion. Like my
Yeah.
heart breaks for these people, and I'm like, I'll do anything. But realizing that God has not asked me to do everything.
Right.
Like he already handled everything because I started to burn out really fast.
I bet.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like I felt like every day I was coming in and I was thinking my job was to hand all the clients a straw, and then they could stick it into me and just and I'd leave
That's terrifying. That's
and
terrifying, dude.
yeah, just
Yeah.
empty, just I
Yeah.
have nothing to offer. And so it was a quick realization, and I just remember one day the Lord speaking to me the most important command is that you love me. He gave me some sense of order, which I needed. I
Yeah.
needed this order. You love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And then love your neighbor to the same degree that you love yourself,
Mm-hmm.
which was different. I was always under the impression that order that was being painted in that scripture was God, others, me.
Yeah.
And you reordered that for me. It's actually love your neighbor to the same degree. It says love your neighbor as you love yourself, but that as is to the same degree. It's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so really the order is God, me, others.
Yeah.
And so for me to learn to love him was actually to learn to love me.
Yeah.
Because the reality of it is if I'm going others first, and I've never even received anything from the Lord on what to do with these people, now all I'm giving away is codependency.
Sure.
Like, I'm just making you dependent on me. And in
Mm-hmm.
reality, what a big disservice.
Mm-hmm.
My job is to make you dependent on him. But in my people pleasing and codependency, it was no, just come and be dependent. I need to be needed. And
Yeah.
so let me just unknowingly, subconsciously position myself in such a way that I'll never be rejected because these people need me.
Yeah.
Dang, to
Dang.
realize that was actually just not healthy at all. I was painful for a minute, but
Yeah.
I got a lot of freedom from that understanding.
I was gonna say freedom. That sounds like freedom,
Yeah.
right? Because it keeps coming back to what you were saying earlier, like the have to,
Yes.
right? That being free from the have to, and then being able to operate in what is actually required of you, right? So, the word says, I've come to Jesus with this term. Jesus says, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And I'm like, this does not feel easy. This does not feel light. I
Uh-huh.
don't know what you mean by
Yeah.
that. like
Yeah.
you said it, but I
Yeah.
don't, but a lot of times it's because of we're holding on. We have a closed fist on something,
That's
right?
right. Yep.
Even our ways of being and serving people,
Yep.
right? Like you're doing all this good work, but what's inside of it is like this clenched fist,
Yep.
fear, scarcity, right? Like I know scarcity, abundance. That's a big thing Jamie's been preaching on recently.
Yep. And it's just a lot around it's this around all of that, but what's at the heart of that is a false identity. It's
Yeah,
like I'm believing something about me that is not true, that came from, we call it an identity exchange, like a wound of separation. Like something happened to me, someone said something happened as a kid, right? Which most of the time in my experience, it's like the things that we would be like, oh, but that was so dumb. Like it was like this one-off comment that so and so made at the choir concert in 6th grade. It can't be that serious. But the realization of that is just like when we go through experiences that we feel like humiliated is a big
yeah,
one. Like a time where we're something like that, humiliated, really embarrassed, really fearful, that we develop a false persona or a false identity to protect ourselves from ever feeling that way again. And we don't even realize it's a part of us. Like I just had this realization a couple weeks ago. Like I've always said about myself, I'm an all or nothing person.
mm-hmm.
And which I totally believed because that's how I live my life. Like I'm either like full send or leave me alone kind of person. But
Yeah,
the reality of that is the more I thought about that, I'm like, I've been saying that about myself forever. Is that true? Because have I actually ever been able to be all? No.
yeah.
Okay, so if I'm never operating in all, then I'm always operating in nothing.
Oh, dang.
Which I'm just like, ouch, like I have believed that about myself and even like
Yeah,
pridefully put that out into the world,
sure.
not even realizing like that is a false identity that here I am running around thinking I either need to be all or nothing.
Yeah,
That's a lie.
yeah. No, that I can. Yeah, I don't know. So I can imagine something like that being revealed to me tomorrow.
Hmm. Yep.
Like,
Yep.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're
Because
very baked in. I always use that language. It's like these false identities are like baked into the fabric, or I just teased a friend the other day, like it's baked into your batch of brownies. Like it's just baked into the recipe of who you are without realizing it
yeah,
until you see it, and then you can't unsee it. Like, dang,
sure.
I thought I was responsible. That was another false identity. I'm responsible, which seems so valiant. I'm a mom, I'm a professional, like I'm a business owner, like responsible. But to realize I'm actually not responsible, like I have an ability to respond, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
not responsible. Like God,
Mm-hmm.
He's the responsible party. I'm just responding to the things that He's asking me to respond to. And so even like realizing the false identity of responsible has been like revolutionary for me.
So tell us a little bit more about false identities,
Yeah.
and then even let's weave that into your story a little bit,
Sure.
so your origin story,
Yeah.
and how you went from false identity to true identity, and all those things.
Yeah, like I was saying, I grew up in a lot of chaos. I was really loved, but it was really chaotic.
Yeah.
And so I was, yeah, I have one younger sister, and so at a young age, I kind of, nobody ever said you're responsible for her, but I just picked up this responsibility to make sure she was safe all the time.
Yeah.
And so that looked like, I would sleep in her bed.
Mm-hmm.
I would make sure she's up in the morning. All sorts of things. When my parents would be having, a tough time, I would hide her under the bed and then lock the door from the inside, and then we had a secret code for me to come back in the room. I was always just, I felt like I was responsible to protect her.
Yeah.
And so the older I got, that kind of transferred to other people. I was thinking the other day, the first intervention I ever did for a friend was when I was 13. And I don't know, I never knew how to do an intervention, but I just like sat this person down, like I'm worried about like this behavior and what you're up to, and I'm wondering if you want to do a different thing, you know what I mean? And then I remember like losing sleep over that and like
Yeah.
constantly, and that was back when you had to like call from a landline, so I would
Yeah.
like be calling to check on him all the time, and and so I just think like I just had this false identity that if there's someone that seems vulnerable, I'm responsible to protect them. And
Yeah.
it just led me down a lot of painful paths, a lot of
Yep.
destruction, a lot of, a lot of just pain to see people in so much suffering, and me giving my best effort to try to protect these people and failing at it. And
Yeah.
then you get a false identity about being a failure to protect people.
Yep.
Like, and then what do you do to try to mitigate that? Go harder, like give more of yourself, and so for me, it was a big, long process of just realizing, when I was in corporate world for a long time, and that they love that in corporate world, unfortunately, just
Yes,
like
they
these people
do.
that are willing to give everything. I mean, I would work a million hours. I used to travel the country teaching beauty school. Um, and I worked a million hours, and I was gone from my kids a lot. And I just remember having this awakening, of like, what am I doing? Like, a lot of people can fill the role that I'm at in my job, but nobody can fill the role as my mom, my kid's mom, And so I
Yep.
really took a big pause and stepped back and ended up in ministry. But the problem, because nobody ever taught me, and I don't know, is that I just copied and pasted that behavior. Like
Yep.
take corporate mindset, bring it into ministry, and then I mean, I was going. I mean, it was because I felt this internal responsibility to protect people.
Yep.
And then you throw religion on that, and it's like, gosh, I want to protect you from the consequences of sin, and I want to protect you from whatever.
Yep.
And I found myself burnt out and needed. I remember having to go to the pastor the church that I worked at, and just be like, I need counseling. Like, I need help. I am burnt out, and I'm a high capacity person. I can handle a lot. So
Yep.
to think back on some of the stuff that I was just completely like, I don't have anything left to offer. And at that point too, I mean, I don't know if you can relate to this, but it really cost me a lot of trust with my own family. Like,
Sure.
my husband is just like, yo, when are you gonna come home though? Like, I
Yep.
remember I went on 4 mission trips in a summer when my kids were little, and like I was just gone. I was just gone, like just doing the things because I felt that I needed to protect the kids who were going on these trips and they couldn't go without me and all of that. You know what I mean? And so to start therapy and to start uncovering the things that I was believing, I had around the same time started ACA, my recovery program, and started
Yep.
learning about, emotional sobriety and like really becoming aware of like, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling that way? And what's my responsibility in it? Um, and then, yeah, I about 4-ish years ago, I bumped into Jamie and Don into Living Fearless, and it was revolutionary for me. It was like the lights turned on, like, oh my gosh, this is all making sense for me. And so to just be able to unload a bunch of these false identities, and then just be equipped with the truth of who I am, it's been, yeah, it's a process that I'm so radically transformed by and just overflowing with gratitude for, like you.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
It's amazing. Can you tell us a little bit more about your true identity, what you discovered?
Yeah. Um, One of my first identities that I ever heard was these words, graced by God.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not grace like made easy, it's grace like visited. Like I said, grew up in a home with a lot of chaos where my parents just couldn't be super present with us. Addiction and abuse and all sorts of things. And they loved me, but they just couldn't be present. And so it was really common that I would be like home alone, that I would get forgotten to be picked up from like basketball practice or something like that. Like I'd look out in the crowd at the music concerts and there was not
Mm-hmm.
anybody there. Not all the time, but they missed quite a bit in their chaos.
Yep.
And so I had this belief that I'm alone in the world and nobody's coming.
Yeah.
It's like
Yep.
it's like that
Yep.
feeling like I'm alone and nobody's showing up, nobody's coming.
Yep.
It's it's the feeling that now when I leave my house and my dog's looking out the window, it breaks my heart
Yeah.
because I think he believes that. Like, she's
Yep.
leaving me alone, she's never coming back. Like, it's like the feeling that I picture on his face. That's how I felt as a little kid. Like, they're leaving me alone and nobody's coming back.
Yeah.
And so I just believed for a long time. And so then to cope with that, I
Mm-hmm.
developed this, I don't need anybody.
Yep.
I will take on the world. I'm strong and smart and capable and adaptable. Like, I don't need anybody. So for me to hear graced by God wasn't just like, it was deeply profoundly significant in my life, because graced actually means like visited. It's like when
Yep.
someone says they graced you with their presence.
Yep.
Like, it was like God saying to me, like, you've never been alone. I've shown up for you every day since the beginning of time, every single day. You've been graced by me. You've been graced by God. Um, and that, yeah, like I said, that was profoundly impactful. And I could look back at my life and story and see all the places that I was graced by Him. When things should have gone this way and they went this way. I can go on and on about that. So that was the
Yeah,
first one. Yep.
I bet you can. It's amazing. It's beautiful. The idea of being visited, and it reminds me of was it Hagar?
Oh, yeah.
The first, I think that's one of the first names of God is the God who sees.
Yes,
You're the
that's right.
God
Yep.
who sees me. When
Yep.
Hagar is exiled, to basically die with
Yep.
Ishmael,
The baby. Yep.
and God visits her, and she says, you're the God who sees." That's what she
Yeah.
called him.
That wild.
It's
So cool.
wild.
I love that story.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then once I heard grace by God, after that, the next identity that I heard was the word vestibule, which is kind of a weird word.
Yeah.
But it means a safe place between places. So like I don't know, in the Midwest where I live, it's like when you go to Starbucks, there's a
Yeah.
vestibule, there's an outside door, there's a middle space that usually has a rug and some flyers about community events, and then
Yeah.
there's an internal door. Vestibule is a safe place between places, and so how that operates in my life is that I commonly bump into people who are coming from somewhere and going somewhere else.
Yep.
And so, yeah, so I can just create or be, not even create, I can just be a safe place for people to come and be safe. Like, see how He's redeemed that part of my protector false identity?
Yep.
He's like, you're not a protector, you're just a safety. Like, it's
Yep.
not your job, protection is not your job, but safety, you can provide safety. So come and be safe. And then really how I often view it is that I'll just hold space for someone to be safe while they go knock on some doors about maybe the path that they want to go down next.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's one of the other ones. And then Princess of Peace.
Yeah.
It's funny because I'm not a princessy girl. I don't know. I'm not like wearing dresses and so when I first heard that, I was like, no, Lord, that is not it. And so I just kind of kept it in my back pocket. And then He brought to mind one day about one time when my daughter was little, I hired this past neighbor to come and be a princess at her birthday party. And so she like went full out like prom dress, crown, like, and she came and all the little girls were just like, Princess Tori is the best thing that ever happened. And so Princess Tori, the party, and she's like hamming it up like, I live in a castle, I have a unicorn, and she just went full for it. And so like 2 days later, we get invited to this little divey pizza spot for a birthday party, and we're walking through the restaurant, and Princess Tori is in the kitchen making pizzas because that was her real job. And my daughter spots her like, Princess Tori? Like, she was stunned. She's like, what are you doing here? Like, she's like covered in flour, and she's just like, it was, and so she comes out and she like kneels down. She's like, oh, princesses, like, no, we have to like come to work sometimes. Like, we got to help our friends. Like, princesses like have jobs. Like, and it was just like the Lord, like, no, you're a princess and not the way that everybody maybe thinks princess. You're a princess because you're operating under His authority.
Yeah.
Like, you get to show up and bring peace because of who your father is. And so it was really like kind of it's very common with identity that you hear something and it might not like click right away
Yeah.
and be like, oh, this is very obvious. But I always encourage people when I'm coaching people to like, when you ask the Lord something, you can expect, like it says in Isaiah, expect to receive His perfect peace. Expect to receive something from Him.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't make sense, I encourage people to put it in somewhat of I call it a bucket.
Mm-hmm.
Like, some people it's a notebook. Sometimes people it's just an internal bucket. But just put all of those words in a bucket, and as He sees fit, He kind of pulls things out and adds and subtracts and puts things together and kind of edits, and to kind of bring it to life. And so that princess was in my back pocket for a long time until He kind of brought that up. Like, it's not about what you wear or what your life looks like. It's about the authority that you walk in. And so, yeah.
So what came to mind when you said that was She-Ra, Princess of Power. You remember She-Ra back in the days?
Absolutely.
He-Man's cousin.
I forgot it was He-Man's cousin. That's great.
Yeah, yeah. So you're a beast like She-Ra.
I guess so. I have to look her up. I haven't thought about She-Ra since probably the 80s. So,
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's it's a beautiful mess. If you go back and look at the cartoons we used to like,
oh my gosh,
yeah,
isn't it wild?
it's wild.
Like, how are we watching it? Like,
How
it's
are we doing it?
uh-huh.
Yeah. So that's cool, man. All this is just so beautiful, and also so much of the point of these episodes is for people to see the process
Yeah, yeah.
that other people are going through, to understand themselves and to begin to live in harmony with the way that that they're designed, right?
Yes.
And that is a process for everybody, and it's my calling. It's one of the most important things that you can undertake
Yeah.
is to understand yourself and then to cooperate with the way that you're designed, right? And to be who you are and stop trying to be something you're
Yep.
not.
Yep.
That's where all our stress and friction comes from, or at least a lot of it.
Totally. Yep. And
Uh,
damage. I mean, when we're in a false identity, when we're believing a false identity, like what results is so often destruction.
yeah,
Like me thinking I'm the protector of everybody actually resulted in destruction because then these people were depending on me for life or death and I couldn't help them.
yeah,
And now it's like, gosh, so it's like to be out of a false identity, it's like so powerful to realize you can run in a totally different way, you know?
yeah.
So, yep,
Can,
really
can we
important.
can we sit there for a second? Because that's actually a very interesting. Because it seems you adopted the false identity because it seemed good,
Yep,
right? And
yep.
even from the outside, it can even be rewarded, right? You were talking about like this all
Mhm.
came in handy when you entered, right, the business world, the
Yep,
corporate world. It's like, oh, we like that,
yep,
right?
yep,
You'll work a lot
yep,
because you're responsible. So you're
yep,
going to make sure it gets done. We like that. We'll reward that. We'll pay that. We'll incentivize that.
absolutely.
So I don't how could a person how do you help people process those parts of themselves? I don't know. It's a very abstract question, but you just
Um,
take it whichever way you want.
Yeah, no, I think it's one coming into the well, one of the people on our team, Norris, he says the like second to the curses of men in the spectrum of dangerousness to our identities is the blessing or like the praises of men.
Yeah.
It's like to realize that but one, it's obvious when someone says something that isn't true about us, we can easily be like, no, that's not who I am.
Yeah.
Like you're an idiot. It's like, no, I'm not. I can easily disregard that. But when someone says, wow, you're so selfless, you're such a good protector, you're so
Hmm.
responsible, that is way more difficult to notice because it feels good to us.
Yep.
And so we'll grab a hold of it and put it on like some kind of badge of honor. We'll clothe ourselves in the praises of men
Yep.
and then wonder why we're doing everything that we've been praised for, but we still feel empty. The
Yep.
reality of it is like anything that God didn't say about us is in some way, shape, or form a curse. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like in
Hmm.
some way, shape, or form, it's either coming at us in a negative way or it's a false positive. It may
Yep.
be true about us, but it's not the truth, the full truth of who we are.
Right.
And so it's like one, it's like everything. Then there's another one. Take every thought captive, teach it to obey Christ. Like for everything, every sort of quality about me that I would teach that I would teach that quality almost or that mindset around that quality. Like God, what do you say about me? Do you say that I'm responsible? No. Okay. What do you say about me?
Hmm.
I say you're vestibule. Okay. So then teach me then, Lord, teach me because anything he calls us, he already is.
Hmm.
And so it's like then if he's calling me vestibule, then he's a vestibule. So then I want to know how to be a vestibule according to how he is a vestibule in my life and story,
Sure.
no more or less. The
Yeah.
temptation for us sometimes is to like take our understanding of what that identity means and then to add to it or subtract from it based on our understanding of the word. And so it's really working with him, over time and in community to learn what does it actually mean to be this identity. Meanwhile, just all of these false identities as they come up, that we would just take them captive. Like, is this God? Is this a true thing about me? And that's a filter that's really helped me is to think about some of the things I say about myself, even the all or nothing example. I'm all or nothing. would I say that about God? Would I say God is all or nothing? No, I would say he's all, but he's for sure not nothing. You know what I mean? And so that's really helped me have a tool in my mind, whatever I'm saying about myself or whatever I'm saying about someone else.
Yep.
My first sort of, litmus test is like, would I say that's true about God? If it's not, then it's not true about another image bearer.
Yeah. That's really good. And it's helpful for me because I think it articulates one of the dangers of even my model, the Superpower Quest model is a model where you're exploring and discovering your own design. You're understanding your design. And I think that's good work, right? I think it's good work. I think it's good to understand that and all that. But I do think that's why the idea of identity is so important, because even that needs to be brought before the Lord.
Yep.
Right? And for the Lord to interpret, okay, how do I not then separate into my conception of myself as an good or as an end into itself without tying that to purpose or tying that back to the things that only God can say, because there's things about us that are evident that other people can see and praise, right? And I really do try to be intentional about with my kids, like, oh, I see that.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
dope. You're creative. Like, that's awesome.
Yep.
But it can't stop. Ultimately, it can't stop there, because then it can become, and a fault. It can even your true attributes can become a false identity.
Absolutely. Because
Dang.
then if someone's constantly calling me nice, or this is a common one with our kids, like, oh, here's my, my son, he's my quiet one. Here's my daughter, she's my wild one. And that's how you're introducing them.
Yep.
These kids are taking on that identity. So now if they're not quiet, nobody told them if you're not quiet, you're bad. But if they're not lining up with what their mom is always saying about them, now they have this belief system that I'm somehow wrong or off, or so it's like, it's even those little things. And so it's like, not that we're to live in fear, but it is to just come into for me, the presence of mind before I say something about myself or someone else. Like, is this true about this person? Like, am I actually, like, do I want this person, especially as a parent, I think, realizing the power of the words that we speak over our kids. It's like, would I want my kid to internalize what I'm saying about them right now?
Yeah.
The answer is no. It's like, okay, then keep it in your mouth. Like, it's just not, like, if it's not helpful, like, what's the point, because I see the damage in my life of, like, like my grandmother, I love her. She's one of my favorite people in the whole world. She passed away a few years ago, but she would always call me, like, she'd always tell me I'm such a selfless person.
Yeah.
Which was true in my behavior, but when I took selfless on as an identity, I became a people pleaser. You know what I mean? And so it's like, we can call out the beautiful attributes we see in people, but it's just like that. And I think that's too, the big part is to first, that's the part of identity that's so important. When we can first have a secure attachment to God, then it's like then I'm getting my worth, my identity, my sense of belonging, all of that from God first. Then it's like anything that anybody else says on top of that, it's like, I can run it through his filter. But for me, I didn't have a secure attachment to God. I was looking for a sense of belonging and willing to take it from wherever I was going to get it, And so, I mean, I think about that as a little kid, being a peer mediator. Then, I go to middle school and I became really good friends with the party crowd. Like, there's a really quick way to, like, have some sense of belonging. Just start drinking when you're in middle school and you'll find your people, you know what I mean? And then become a really good athlete in high school. Like, there's a quick way to get some sense of belonging. Like, kill yourself trying to be the best at this sport, And so it's like all of these ways that I was trying to pursue a sense of belonging, where if we can get people to understand their sense of belonging and identity to God first, now we're not as susceptible to grab a hold of a false identity, because we already have a secure attachment, at the core of who we are.
Oh man, I think, and that brings it back to the simplicity, right? The thing that every human needs to know is who does God say that I am?
That's right.
All right, and that's got it really, for me, every day. I'm drawn into orbit around some other thing, and my only hope is to come back into orbit around the thing that's true. And it's like, okay, this thing over here, Lord, what do you think about it?
Yeah.
This person said this. What do you think about what they said? right?
Yep.
Like that I have found is there the safest place there is to be with the Lord,
I
right?
agree.
And
Yep.
and to take whatever back to him.
Yep.
I think that's what we're called into, the kind of intimacy that's available to us.
Yeah, which I think most of us didn't or don't
Yeah.
realize that that's actually what it means to know God. Like I think for years I was saying I have a personal relationship with him, but when I think about what my relationship with God now compared to 5, 6, 8 years ago, it's like night and day. Like I would have said I had a personal relationship with him, but I didn't even ask him questions.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't even know that I could hear back from him. My personal relationship was very one-sided of me just
Right.
talking to him all the time. But now it's like, gosh, to realize that he actually wants real relationship where it's two-sided and he wants to have input and he wants to be, me to be included in my decision making and where I'm going and what I'm doing. It's just like a completely different understanding.
And I know when some people hear that, it's going to bring up fear,
Yeah.
right? Because the fear is, yeah, but if you open yourself up, you can hear all kinds of crazy things, which
Yeah.
I can raise my hand. I've
Yeah.
heard some crazy things. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like, that is not wrong.
Yep.
That is true.
Yep.
Um, and that's something that everybody's got to wrestle and reckon with, right? Because when we look in scripture, there is a very interactive relationship happening,
Absolutely.
right, between God and his people.
Yep.
And, so the answer is not, don't have that
Right.
to be safe
Yep.
from being misled, right?
Yep.
We know that's not the answer. The answer is probably not go whole hog after every single thought that you have and call it God.
Right. Oh
Probably
my
not
God.
that either,
No. Yeah. Right. There's always a
right?
healthy middle, right? Yeah.
Right? But everybody's going to have to navigate like, yeah, but that is your dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
God can't be my dad for you,
Yeah. That's right.
right? Like he's got to be your dad for you.
Yep.
So how do you talk to your dad? You're going to have to find out how you
Yep.
talk to your dad.
Absolutely.
And it's not like I'm so scared that my dad's going to say something crazy and I'm going to, my fear, I had to confront this, right? Like I had to confront this, like just being transparent with you, man. At my most open to God, I got drawn into let's just say a bad group of people.
Yeah.
Right? I got damaged, crazy damaged.
Yeah.
Right. At my most open. And so, and I end up, and the Lord got me out, but I was in there for 5 years
Jeez. Yeah.
getting damaged
Yeah.
and my family getting damaged.
Yeah.
And, so I never stopped believing in the Lord and I never stopped following the Lord. And I was a pastor, man. Like I was still hanging out with the Lord like that. My faith got strengthened there, but I was also like, yeah, but I can't open the door too wide
Yeah.
because then crazy stuff starts to come.
Yep.
And I had to reckon. And for the first time, I took that question to the Lord. Was like, look, Lord, what you want me to do with this, man? Like, I want to just go all in with you. I want to hear you. I want to listen to you. I want to have an interactive, constant relationship with you. And when I did it in the past, you let me end up here in that
Sure.
place.
Yep.
So you tell me what I'm supposed to do with that.
Yeah.
Like I straight up asked him, like, you have to tell me. And what I heard was, it's a risk either way, bro.
Whoa. Yeah.
It's
He's
a
right.
risk
That's right. Yeah.
either way. He's
Yep.
like, you could either risk with me, or you could risk without me, or you could risk with me. But it's a risk
Yep.
either way.
Yep.
So what you want to do? And I
Yeah.
was like, well, I'd rather risk with you. He was like, all right, let's go. That was the answer I got. That was it. He didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't apologize to me. Like I didn't. He didn't even give me like some kind of prescriptive answer. It was like A or B.
Yeah.
You can risk that way, which is, all right, I'm gonna shut you off,
Sure.
and that's a big risk.
When you think back on that part of your journey, like what's the feeling that comes up about it?
Which part? The part where I'm in this place.
Just put yourself in this bad group of people.
And yeah, and they weren't all bad people, but it was a bad
No, but
situation, right?
just a bad situation,
Right.
yeah.
What's the feeling? It's complicated, man. It's a complicated feeling because I grew there.
Yeah.
I am not who I am today with the conviction I have today without having gone through that.
Yeah.
I can also see the wolf now
Yeah.
because of that, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Um, so to be honest with you, it's kind of like it's kind of like that happened.
Yeah.
You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? It's
Yeah.
kind of like that happened,
Just
and
acknowledging that, yeah, that's real. Yeah.
like that happened, and it's a mix between I wouldn't actually change any of my story,
Yeah.
even if I could. I wouldn't change it.
Yep.
And also, it was very painful,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't wish it on other people.
Right.
That's kind of how I don't know. It's not a simple answer.
No, it's okay. So then I'm just curious, like when you think about who you were when you kind of wandered into that, because I feel like those kinds of situations that you're describing, it's like that's how it's felt for me anyways. Like I feel like I wandered into situations where then like I'm like so far in and I'm like, how did I get here? Like
Yeah.
how did I get here, you know?
Yep.
And so when you think about the difference between the you now and the you then, what would
Yep.
you say is the big difference?
That's such a good question, actually. That's probably the question. I mean,
Yeah.
you really fastened in on it. The difference now is that I have some discernment,
Yeah.
right? Like I had the heart back then.
Yeah.
I had the heart, but I didn't have the discernment,
Yeah.
right? And so it was all or nothing.
Yeah.
It was like you got to open up all the way, and everything you hear has got to be God. When
Yep.
you know what I mean? And the spirit world is a big world.
That's right.
You could hear amazing, good, true things, and you can hear false things.
Mm-hmm.
And so the ability to actually look at what I'm hearing and have permission to say, maybe it is, but it could also not be. To have permission, because I thought I would get in trouble for questioning.
There it is.
How
Yep.
zealous I was, right? I was so zealous that it's like, I can't question or God's going to be mad at me.
That's right there. That's a false identity right there. That's
Yeah.
like the false identity is what leads us into those kinds of situations to begin with.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like because we're really just we're looking for a sense of belonging
Yes.
when we're in that false identity, right? And so if I go here and I go all in, but then now I'm all in, and if I'm not all in, then I'm fill in the blank, right? Then
Right. I'm disgraced. I'm abandoned. I'm set aside.
So of course we would
Right.
keep that around. Of course we would keep that false identity around because it's like, well, look at what it's going to cost me if I don't, right?
Yeah.
It's yeah, that's so then really the process becomes one, and that's your room. Like I was telling you about me and the Lord with all these past versions of myself. It's like
Yeah.
this past version of myself that found myself in a situation that it's like you said, I would do it again if I had to, but it's like, dang, that was tough, you know?
Yeah.
So to like take that person, like when did I first believe that I have to go all in or I'm bad?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like really,
Yeah.
and it's really
Yeah.
starting to unwind
Yeah.
from that and to forgive people, forgive myself, forgive, right? And then to cut off any agreements that I have with that. Like I have to go all in or I'm bad. It's like
Yeah.
my experience with false identities is that false identities are magnetic for lies.
Yes.
Like when I'm in a false identity, it's just the lies are just sticking, you know, and they say like in recovery circles, we say fear is an acronym for false evidence appearing as real.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's what it is. It's like
Yep.
when we're in that place of like, I have to be zealous or
Yeah.
I'm disgraced and abandoned and rejected and alone. Everybody's core fear is aloneness, I think, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, if I don't do this, then I'm this. And it's like, then the lies are just sticking to that, you
Yeah.
know, like, and so then you see like, look I can find all this evidence to support that I can't change this.
Yes.
You know, like we can find tons of evidence until we realize like, dang, I don't actually like, what if, God, what do you say about this? And then he's like, how about you give me that? This is part of the reason why we're called identity exchange. How about you give me that
Yeah.
BS thing that you're believing about yourself? And then let me offer you what's actually true. Try this on. Like so
Yeah.
often the Lord, it feels like identities is like, just try this on. Like just
Yeah.
walk around wearing this truth for a couple of days and see how you feel. Guaranteed you don't want to turn it back in.
Man, now we're getting to the real, like somebody needs to hear this right here. Like
Yeah.
this whole exchange, somebody needs to hear this because this is the fruit or the treasure that I took out with me from that horrible, unthinkable circumstance,
Yeah.
right? Which is, um, you. I had an incorrect perspective of my father because I saw my father as primarily punitive,
Okay.
right? Like God. If I do it wrong, like even all the way back from the Pentecostal days,
Yep.
if I don't say it right, if I don't do it right, God's going to be mad. It's not going to work. I'm going to get destroyed.
Yep.
The stakes are just so high constantly.
Yep.
The stakes are only high because I believe something about God,
That's right.
that God is a punisher. God
That's
is
right.
a disciplinarian. God doesn't play. And,
Yep.
and you know, I don't fault you for getting there. Like Ananias and Sapphira, man, like, you know, dead, homie. Like, yeah, you lie and then you lie and you die, right? It's not like there's no evidence,
Yeah.
right, for the idea, but I've had to navigate to a place, and it's primarily through my relationship with my kids, right? Because God says He's a father.
Yeah.
He says that's important, that He's a father. I'm a father. What do I really want what do I want most for my kids? Do I want justice for my kids? Right? Like, is that really what a good father wants? Like, I just want justice to be done to my kids.
Yeah.
So
No.
like, you better obey me. Otherwise, my highest, attribute is to give you justice.
Right.
What you deserve, man. And better learn your lesson so I don't have to swat you a lot.
Yep.
Like, okay, I don't know. That don't sound like a good dad.
Yep.
Right?
The dad, like that's a very common though. You know
Yeah.
this. Like that's a very common mindset of dads.
Yeah.
But because they were taught that that's how you stay safe.
Yes.
Like the way that you keep yourself safe is that you obey or you get whooped. Like that's and so like you're just trying to keep your kids safe. It's like so
Yeah.
well intentioned.
Yeah.
But when you really sit down with the Lord, like, what do you want me to know? He's like, I mean, less of that.
He always
More
tells
of,
me, don't be afraid. That's what he tells, the more than anything.
yes,
What
that's
I hear
right.
now is don't be afraid. And that's also got a lot of traction in scripture, man.
Yes,
Don't
it
be
sure does.
afraid.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. Don't
Yeah.
be afraid. What do you mean don't be afraid? You just killed Ananias and Sapphira in front of all of us. What do you mean? Don't be afraid though.
Yeah.
Right? I had what I was doing there. I had what I was doing with them.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean that you now need to run around thinking, man, if I lie, I'm going to die.
Right.
That's
Right.
not the point.
Right.
And so, well, what is the point? I mean, again, it comes up to what is God's highest attribute? And if I look, I'm a bad version of God, but
That's
but-
real. Yeah. Uh-huh.
but I'm an awesome dad. I'm
Yeah.
an awesome dad. I love my kids. What do I want for them? I want them to grow.
Yep.
I want them to reach their inheritance. Everything else is the means to an end, right?
Yep.
But the end is I want you to grow, man. I want you to flourish. I want you to thrive. Now, see, that sounds like God to me.
Yep. Yep.
And
And
so,
he calls you a creative connector. Like you're a creative connector in every part of your life and story. Like as a dad, that's actually a part of what you're doing. It's like you are a creative connector. You're as a dad, you're operating in that.
yeah,
As a husband, as a friend, as a business guy, as an interviewer, like that is what you can't, like that's the beauty of discovering identity is that it affects every single part of our life and story. And so
Yes.
for you to add or subtract anything from that, for you to add like justice on top of that or, whatever, fill in the blank, like we all add things, it's like, it's just a disservice. And that's a part of the standing firm is to realize like, I'm going to stand firm being a creative connector, not plus or minus anything, just
Yep.
full.
Yep. And God likes what He made.
like
God
love.
likes what he made. Like
Yes.
that's where I came to, because of the book helped me come to that, right?
Yeah.
Like, because before I read the book, I was like, God's a disapproving father.
Yeah.
And he
Well.
has a right to be,
Hmm.
because I'm a mess,
Hmm.
because I mess up, because I blow it, because it's not even as so much the things that I do as also the things that I don't do that I should do. You know what I mean? Like, there's never enough
Hmm.
doing.
Hmm.
And and I didn't, but then it's like, okay, well, but when I go to God and say, well, what do you think though?
Hmm.
See, that's what's missing, right? Like I've been going to God and asking, like, hey, this thing in the Bible messed me up, Lord. Like, I don't get why you did that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get why Peter, Peter's brokenhearted after the crucifixion, Jesus comes back, and then
Hmm.
Peter jumps off the ship and runs after Jesus, and then they're like eating fish around the fire, and or they're walking, and then Jesus is like, so, you love me?
Hmm.
This guy's brokenhearted. This guy's
Yeah.
broken,
Yeah.
and you're gonna do that to him, Jesus? Like, you love me though? Peter's like, yeah.
Yeah.
And Jesus is like, you love me? And he just keeps asking, keeps doing something.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there like, Jesus, why aren't you just hugging this bro? Like, I don't understand why you're not just grabbing him up in your arms and hugging him, like, and holding him to you. Like, he's so broken over
Yeah.
betraying you. Like, and, but see, those are the questions, right? Like Ananias and Sapphira, all of them. Those are the ones just like, I can look at scripture and I can come to my own conclusion,
That's right.
and I can build a God. And I can
Hmm.
actually build a version of God that's different than who he really is.
Oh, yeah. Very easily.
Because
And then throw a little cultural influence in there, and it's like, man, that's the beauty, I think, is that something that's really helped my identity journey is learning how to read the scriptures through a totally different voice.
yeah,
Like we kind of differentiate like the voice of the world, because we commonly will grab a hold of that voice that sounds like you need to conform.
yeah,
That's the voice of the world, right? The voice of the flesh is that like condemning kind of voice.
yeah,
The voice of the enemy is the accusing kind of voice. The voice of religion, this is a big one, is the voice that's like you need to perform in
yes,
order to get something, right? And then the last voice is God's voice.
yeah,
That will always sound like invitation, will
yeah,
always sound like a loving father, will always like tell you to do more on the being than on the doing, right? And so when we read scripture through a different even voice,
yeah,
it's like, because really what Jesus, I think what Jesus is doing with Peter in that story is he's really trying to just get him to confess. Like, God is always
yeah,
inviting us into confession, like, just tell me the truth, just
yeah,
tell the truth, just like we are with our kids, right?
yeah,
Like, if
yeah,
you
yeah,
tell me the truth, then I can help. But so often we're afraid to tell him the truth, and so he's like, no, 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 just tell me the truth. Like, do you love me though? Do you
yeah,
love me? And he's asking him all these, like, do you love me? Like, he's trying to get him to like confess the truth, because
yeah,
really confession is what makes a way and paves a path for repentance, which is
sure,
hearing back from God.
sure,
And so it's like that. It's like if you can start, like, and you and me both, like, if I can tell God the truth about, like, I thought you were going to do this and you didn't do it. I thought, why did this happen to me when I was
yeah,
12 years old? Why did this,
yeah,
like, what the hell, where were you? If I can start telling him the truth, then it's like James, right? Like, if you need wisdom, ask your heavenly Father who will give it to you, who will generously give it to you and won't rebuke you for asking.
yeah,
If you are going to ask him, then take what he offers you.
yes,
Like, and so often I found myself like asking him, but I already sort of have my own opinion or like
yeah,
perspective on like maybe an alternative option to what God has to offer to me. It's like I just remember like thinking about being a little kid, like a middle schooler, and you like this boy or whatever, and then you're like on the bus and you're like asking, like, do you think I should go out with this boy? And then you ask your mom when you get home, and you ask your sister, and you ask your brother, and you ask your neighbor, and you get everybody's opinions. You know what I mean? And then whatever opinion you like the best, you kind of go with it.
yeah,
And I think for me, sometimes I've brought that same sort of process strategy into my adult life, where it's like I'm going to ask everybody what they think about it, and now it's even worse because it's like, let me ask Instagram and this blogger,
yeah,
this Facebook post, and all these people what I think I should do, what they think I should do, and then I'm going to ask God, and then I'm going to throw God's opinion in the mix with all the other opinions and just pick my favorite one.
yeah,
And in reality, it's like, dude, if you're gonna ask your heavenly Father for wisdom, receive what He's saying to you,
yeah,
like receive it, And so I just think
yeah,
it's like part of the process to like learn to tell him the truth and then actually receive his truth back.
Yeah.
Because he wants it. He's speaking to us. He wants
Yeah.
to talk to us.
That was such a good scripture to bring in too, right? Like if you're, ask God. That's in, is that James?
That's James, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If anyone lacks wisdom, let him
Hmm.
ask God, and he just loves to give wisdom. He just
I
loves to.
love that statement. The first time I
Yeah.
read, he won't rebuke you for
He won't
asking,
rebuke you. Yeah,
which I just think was wild to me. I remember like asking as a little kid, like, can we go do this thing? And it was like, I would get rebuked all the time. Like, we
right.
don't have time for that. We don't have money for that. Like,
Yep.
it was like, I learned at a young age, like, don't ask.
Don't ask.
Like, don't have a need,
You'll get
don't ask,
rebuked. It's not okay
and
to ask.
yeah. So then it's like, gosh, to realize that our Heavenly Father is like, no, please ask. And
Yeah.
there's never rebuke for asking, ever.
Man, and I'm telling you, that's a transformative truth, right? That I really believe that is what got me out of that group that I was in.
Yeah.
Was I miraculously got permission to start asking questions, and it was an absolute transformative miracle for me to even do that because, I thought if I asked questions, there was a fear,
Hmm.
right? Like, and that's a good indicator that something's off.
Totally.
Is that feeling like if I question this,
Yep.
then I could be punished.
Man.
Like,
Yep.
why are you afraid?
Hmm.
Right? When the word says you can ask and you won't get rebuked for asking, right?
Yep.
When the word says you desire truth in the inward parts, right? God desires truth in the inward parts, and the hidden part He makes me to know wisdom. Like,
Yeah.
like that's maybe, I don't know. I think that can do work in somebody's life, especially somebody who's stuck where I was stuck,
Hmm.
in a particularly kind of religious kind of stuckness,
Yep.
which is a
That's
conception.
really one of my desires is that we would take a hold of those kinds of truths and be equipped with them. That's a part of transformation. I almost picture it like this is kind of a weird one, but Dora the Explorer, like I don't know if my kids watch Dora all the time and I love Dora because she always just had this backpack of like tools, like
Yeah, I remember that.
accomplish the mission, like
Yeah,
whatever. And so I just picture myself and the people around me, like we're all these little like Doras, and we each have a backpack, and God just kind of loads it up with the stuff that we need.
yeah,
Um, and and really, the tools in our backpack are tools, kind of like what we're talking about, just that permission that we're talking about to ask God, and we'll never be rebuked. Like that's a tool
that's
that
a
now
tool.
I can hand someone.
Yes.
My favorite game when I was in sixth grade was this game called Medicine Man. It was in gym class, and it was kind of like dodgeball, where you have two teams, and then it's kind of like dodgeball, but the only difference is that one person on each team is like the designated medicine person, and so if you get hit by the ball, instead of getting out like in dodgeball, you sit down, and then the medicine person would go around and untag the people that are sitting down. But it
Yep.
was had to be like low key because like once the other team knew who the medicine person was, like now they're gunning for you.
Oh, that's a cool
Because
game. That's a cool
yeah,
game. Yeah.
that was my favorite game as a kid, and the Lord brought that back to me about, probably 8 years ago or something, and was just like, Jen, that's actually how I created you to live your life. Because I loved on Monday, we'd always play on Fridays, and on Mondays I would start campaigning for being the medicine person on Friday, like pick me, like vote for me, okay? I want to do this, because I just loved that role, like I just loved it.
Yes.
Which it didn't. My strategy was bad because now the other team always knew it was going to be me.
She likes
But
it. Yeah, she likes to
I
be
loved it.
medicine.
And so the Lord's like, Jen, that's actually how I've made you, is I want you to crawl around to people that think that they're stuck,
Yeah.
that think they are frozen. And I want you to whisper to them like, hey, like get up and run, you're unfrozen. And just hand them one of the tools from your backpack. Like, here,
Yeah.
if you need wisdom, ask your Heavenly Father. He's not going to rebuke you. Now go. Like that's a part of it. And so that's my hope, is every person that I'm talking with and meeting, and that I would be able to just have something that I've received from the Lord that I would be able to pass off to them and say, like, now run with it and hand it to the next guy that thinks they're stuck.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes. Yeah. This is good, Jen. This is good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to actually do a graceful like closing. Like we're about at time.
Yeah.
We've actually gone over, and it's been wonderful. So I just want to thank you for spending time with us. And for those who are watching, this is Jen Becker with Identity Exchange, and you've gotten to get a sense for, I think, in action, what she's been called to do, and the gift that she's been given that she gives to others.
Wow. Yeah.
Which is that healing, that hey, you're unfrozen. You could just go now.
Get up and run. Get up and run.
Get up and run. Keep playing the game. Keep playing the game. You don't have to just sit here.
Yep.
You help people do that.
Yeah. Thank you. I feel honored to get to do it, and just to get to know you and hear more about what you're up to in the world. I'm cheering for you.
Yeah. For a second there, you started interviewing me. That was crazy. That was wild. Kelly did the same thing.
You can't turn it off.
Yeah. But such a good time with you, Jen. So thank you for joining us, and everybody, we appreciate you being with us today. If you made it to the end, and wishing you all the best. So take care.
You too, Johnny. Bless you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.